Alright, I should not make this video because I don't know. I don't like making videos. You know I can't stand making videos. It's gross. It's disgusting. So check this out, man. This is what's been on my mind. When I was a kid, I grew up in the 60s, and when I grew up, everyone smoked cigarettes. All the adults. You know, not me. I was just a little kid. And smoking cigarettes was glorious. And I remember this is how I remember the glory of smoking cigarettes. You'd go into someone's house, including mine, and the featured item on the coffee table would be this huge, beautiful glazed ashtray with beautiful designs. And, you know, because having a big, beautiful ashtray as the center of your living room was the thing. We didn't know that much about cigarettes and health. And the thing is this, when cigarettes were all the rage, smoking a cigarette, and this was just me observing the adults, both my parents smoked and all their friends smoked. What I observed, and I still see it to this day, but just on a smaller scale, is that people smoked kind of as a nervous habit. It was a reflex. You know, you completed something at work, or you did something, and your punctuation mark for the day was to take a cigarette break. And I thought of that recently because I have as we all do, I have a very complicated and complex relationship with social media. You know, making watch videos or posting stuff on other social media platforms. And I started thinking about social media and happiness recently because I started thinking that, and I don't know if you guys have done this before, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not ashamed to say this. Speaking of the cigarette break, the nervous reflex to smoke a cigarette, I don't smoke cigarettes, but I noticed something I had been doing the last couple of years regarding watches. Watches, yeah. I would just be by myself. I'd be in my room reading. I could be reading an ebook, or I could be reading a hardcover book, or I could be watching TV, and I'd be by myself, and I'd be wearing a watch. And God, I hate this. I hate that I have to talk about this. But I don't know. I don't even know what was into me to do this, but I had my phone with me, which has a camera, a very high quality camera, the pixels, okay. And just I would photograph my watch. I would look for a good angle in the light, and I'd post it on Instagram. And then, you know, 5 minutes later, I'd look and see how many people liked it. And I started, I don't know what got into me, but over the summer, I did some things that just got me away from doing that, just because I got busy with stuff. Like, we had our house fumigated, and my family, we drove to Mammoth Lake, where I had the best tap water from the snow melt that I ever had in my life. Since talking about that on social media, I know people who live in Oregon and other places where they have what do you call those? Aquifers, and they have beautiful tasting water. Anyways, I got absorbed with family stuff, and I wasn't posting so much, you know, the equivalent of cigarette break, and I noticed I was happier. And I was talking about it with my wife the other night, maybe a week ago. I said, yeah, I don't know, my watch, I'm not sure if my watch obsession has made me that happy, really. I mean, I love my watches, but when I turn the volume up to 11, like in that movie Spinal Tap, I'm just miserable. Now, listen to this. For 20 years, when I brought up watches with my wife, she's always done nothing. She just looked at me. She's always looked at me with indifference. Like, I don't care. That's your own conversation. Interestingly, when I brought it up, we were watching TV. I think it was called the 1% Club on Amazon Prime, hosted by Pat and Oswald. We were watching it, and before the show got started, good show, by the way, I recommend it. I said to my wife, you know, I'm not really delving into my watch videos anymore because I kind of got into a quagmire. I pretty much was saying the same 3 things over and over again, which I'll review for you. That's fine today. And my wife, for the first time in 20 years since I got saddled by the watch addiction, she just looks at me out of the corner of her eye, and she says one word. She says, succubus. Now, I know what a succubus is. My wife knows what a succubus is. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that word on YouTube. But it's a Greek, it's a demon. It's a she-demon that gets a hold of you and never lets go. It never lets go. And she was essentially, with one word, saying, dude, I've seen this. I tolerate your watch addiction. But with one word, she was pretty much saying, this watch addiction of yours, it can drain you, dude. It can suck the life out of you. And she's right. But it wasn't just the watch, my fascination with watches. It was the whole interplay of watches with social media, you know, trying to get attention with watches or get attention on social media talking about watches, and repeating myself and being in a quagmire about watches, and then commiserating with other people who are in a quagmire about watches. And I noticed when I put the volume from 11, Spinal Tap reference, down to whatever, 6, which is what it is now, I noticed I was a lot happier. And I would conclude, to go back to my cigarette metaphor from when I was a little kid watching adults smoke cigarettes, that most of us are active in social media in a sort of a cigarette way. And what happens is, for me personally, I'm not going to tell anyone else how to use social media. And again, I don't even know if I'm supposed to make this video, but I do like ideas. I do like to talk about ideas. I like to interrogate my own erroneous behavior sometimes. But what I realize for me in a trap, you know, photographing my watch while I'm watching a movie. Why? You don't have to photograph it. It would almost become like a nervous impulse. One of my concerns about this relatively new product, social media, which I think I was introduced to personally. My girls weren't even born yet. They're 14. And I remember 2009, I was on my first social media platform. Actually, before that, 2006, I had a blog where I would review radios. Before I became obsessed with watches, I was obsessed with vintage 1960s and 1970s Panasonic and Sony radios, especially the military radios. Interestingly, those radios came from Japan, made with very high grade circuitry, and I now love Japanese divers. Interestingly, I've always loved Japanese art, technology, and culture since I was a little kid watching Godzilla and whatnot, so that makes sense. But I've been on social media, you know, for longer than my girls, but still it's a relatively, you know, in the arc of history, it's a relatively new thing for us. I'm not sure our brains are cut out for social media or having a watch addiction in the context of social media, because for me, and I suspect this is true for many people, my wife said succubus, I can't believe it. Social media is a succubus in that it puts me in what I would call an impoverishment loop. Impoverishment loop. That's a lot to say, dude. An impoverishment loop. Which is to say this. I could post something on social media, a watch or a funny story about my family, what we went through. I'll give you an example. My family, we went home from Mammoth I told this story on a social media platform that I won't mention. And we were coming home from Mammoth Lake to Torrance, and we stopped at a McDonald's in Bishop, and I got food all over my shirt while I was driving and trying to eat at the same time. That was stupid. I'm not going to go into that. And I even did make a funny account of that. But the funniest thing that happened was my daughters got hungry again like 3 or 4 hours later. This was in Mojave, so I went to McDonald's twice in a day, which is an indignity. And I noticed that the bathrooms, you couldn't go in them. You had to have a code, a combination. And it's like, can I please get the combination? I'm about to spend $50 in your restaurant for not the greatest food in the world, frankly. I mean, we're desperate. We're in the Mojave Desert. You're open. You have a bathroom. I need the codes. So I get the codes, and then, you know who was going in there after me, those bathrooms? Truck drivers. And I got a special place in my heart for truck drivers. They're all alone, man. They're driving trucks. Trucks are bad on your back, man. Bad on sciatica, man. And these truck drivers are tired, and I see them going over to the bathroom, man, and they can't even get in, man. They need the codes, man. I gave them the codes, man. 2, 4, 6, 8. Here's the codes. I became the prophet of bladder health in the desert of Mojave, and I wrote this funny thing about it, and I enjoyed writing it, and I got some attention for it on social media. But I noticed when I get attention for something, I'm trying to be funny. I want to be entertaining. I noticed that with social media, you're never popular enough, loved enough. You never get enough, what can I say? You never get enough validation, praise. It's just disgusting. I don't want to be in that state of mind. My wife said succubus, where I'm just smoking cigarette after cigarette and never get enough buzz. And that's really been my relationship over the last 15 years on social media. It's just an impoverishment cycle, man. It's an impoverishment loop. And yet I also love social media. My relationship was complicated because I can explore ideas on this YouTube channel with enough people to make it meaningful. So I still want to produce social media content. But what I realized is, for me, I have to make a distinction between producing social media content for attention or for love or to be entertaining and to expect a certain amount of feedback from it, because for me that's just going to be nicotine, smoking cigarettes. It's going to be impoverishment. I'll be constantly frustrated. But where I want to use social media, where I think it's positive or it's meaningful, that it's a good use of my time, I think that's the best way to describe it, is if I have a contribution to make. If I have a contribution to make, then I can do it with less regard for the attention, the validation, the amount of hits, and so on. If I can make a contribution. So there's a guy I listen to, probably my favorite podcast is called The Remnant, Jonah Goldberg. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but he's a genius. And when I listen to his podcast, I just feel like I'm getting to know how a brilliant mind works, and it never bores me to listen to Jonah Goldberg on The Remnant. I don't even necessarily agree with him all the time, but it's my favorite podcast because he just strikes me as the most brilliant person talking. There's another brilliant person. His name is Mike Pesca. I listened to his podcast called The Gist, and he's good too. But I would have to say my very, very favorite, the Grand Seiko of podcasts, had to turn it into a watch metaphor, is The Remnant by Jonah Goldberg. And if I were to continue making YouTube videos, I would want to, in my dreams, I wish I could explore ideas with the adroit magic of a Jonah Goldberg. I don't know if I can do it quite as good as he does. So it's funny, once I got my quit doing the cigarette smoking, so to speak, fewer posts on Instagram, and then re-examining my social media content here on social media, I have been happier. If you define happiness as being productive and focused. And so for the last 6 weeks, I've been using ChatGPT a lot. I have ChatGPT 4.0. I subscribe to it because I think it's owned by Microsoft, and I was getting 4.0 for free, but then it said you've maxed out on the amount of times you can use 4.0. And so I now give them a fee because I use it a lot with my students. I show them how to write prompts, and I tell them, you know, you don't want to write essays out of thin air with my prompts. That's cheating. But this is a very muscular editor, and I know this because I've written 3 books with ChatGPT. I'm looking for an agent right now for the, well, I wrote 1 full book called The Desert Peacock, a novel about a young bodybuilder turned professor teaching in the desert. He's ostentatious, he's impoverished, he's ridiculous. It was a comic murder mystery that I wrote, complete. And I wrote all the content myself, but ChatGPT edited the book for me. And so I sent it out, and I'm waiting to, who knows, I don't know if I'll be successful or not, but I really enjoyed writing that novel. I really enjoyed the product, and I really enjoyed the collaboration with ChatGPT. It blew my mind, and it blew my mind in ways that I've never had my mind blown before, to tell you the truth. It kind of took me away from being at 11 with my watch obsession. Now I just have a nice little collection of 6 watches. And so then I wrote 2 incomplete books. Well, 1 I just need to go back and rewrite it. What was that one called? Revisions of the Damned was about a guy who meets a Faustian character, a sort of devilish character who represents ChatGPT, actually. And I need to go back and complete that. But so I've been. What could I say about ChatGPT? I'm a good dreamer. I have a good imagination. I can come up with narratives all on my own. What ChatGPT does, because I like to write in a satirical, hyperbolic, comical voice, you guys probably haven't noticed that, what I do when I give instructions to ChatGPT to amplify those qualities, it's kind of like, imagine Ronnie Coleman if he were a natural bodybuilder. That would be me without ChatGPT. And then imagine the Ronnie Coleman that you saw, you know, taking the juice. The juice. ChatGPT is the juice. I mean, if you use the analogy that writing without ChatGPT is being natural, and then writing prose with ChatGPT is being on steroids, then ChatGPT turns us into Ronnie Colemans when we pose our muscles on stage. And, you know, this is fascinating. We don't even know how. I mean, I've had 15 years to talk to you about social media platforms because I've been on social media since 2009. But, ChatGPT, I've only been on it for 3 years. So who knows? To me, as I was talking about ChatGPT to my colleagues, and believe me, they're very concerned about it, college writing instructors, and I talk about it with my students, ChatGPT is a giant UFO that just landed on planet Earth. I'm a caveman. We're all cavemen. And we're looking at it. We don't know. We haven't even processed it yet. It's insane. I can just tell you a few things. It can read my mind. ChatGPT can write in the rhetorical voice that I want. It knows what I want before I know what I want. It's scary. It's good. It's not going away. You know what I told my students? I have to teach you ChatGPT because imagine this. Many decades ago, you know, the invention of commercial air flight was in existence. You know, and you can't reject the technology of commercial air flight. If I don't offer the air flight, then students are going to go to JetBlue or Southwest or United, whatever, or Alaskan. They're going to go. They're going to go, man. There's no way this technology is going away. And I also tell my students, 95% of you, when you get out of this class, you're going to use ChatGPT for your job. Guarantee it, because it's productivity, it's money. So I have to teach them how to use it responsibly and ethically. I'm fascinated by it. This fascination has got me, my watch nicotine level from 11 down to like 6. I still love watches. When I'm on social media now, I'm not looking at as many watch videos, because watches for me are nicotine. I can't be happy if the nicotine is up to 11. What I'm watching is more exercise stuff. I'm almost 63. I'll be 63 in 2 months. And I just love doing kettlebell workouts 5 days a week in my garage while I listen to a podcast. I love taking 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day and eating 180 to 200 grams of protein a day. And I guess, I don't know, I guess I'll do that until I die. Once you're a young bodybuilder, it becomes who you are. I want to tell you, for me, I follow Mark Wildman on YouTube. He's a kettlebell instructor on YouTube, and he says, this channel, it's not a workout channel, it's not a fitness channel, it's a movement channel, how to move. And he said something that's in my brain all the time. He goes, when I'm teaching you how to work out, how to move, I want you to know what your objective is today, my friends. And he's talking to me personally at the age of 62. Your job is to not get injured today so you can work out tomorrow. Dude, you're my friend for saying that. Mark Wildman's awesome. So I notice I'm more happy when I'm studying a Mark Wildman video. I'm getting happy right now just thinking about it. And learning how to move with a kettlebell than I am when I'm, oh, I need this watch. Oh, my life is incomplete with that. Because once I go down that, then I'm going into an impoverishment loop. I'm smoking cigarettes at the living room table with those giant ashtrays. The other video that's made me very happy, who is this young doctor? Dr. Mike Israetel. What is it? Renaissance periodization. That's a very bold move, Mike Israetel. You came up with this very successful YouTube channel that, frankly, it's a controversial title. I mean, you're giving bodybuilding and fitness and nutrition and health advice as a doctor. And you decided, of all the names, you decided to call it Renaissance periodization. And I can't even say it unless I throw it out like I'm from the South. I was born in the Florida swamps. But I think he came up with that name just because it's kind of a workout to say it. But I notice, for me personally, I'm a lot more happy if I'm watching Mike Israetel or Mark Wildman talk about fitness and inspire me to get through my day in that regard. If I go on watch videos too much, then the volume, it goes up to 11, and then, as my wife said, succubus. So I got to be careful. I still love watches, but I just have other interests that have helped modulate the situation. And as far as social media goes, if I have a contribution to make, a conversation that I think helps you out, then I'll do it. But if it's just some sort of nicotine attention thing, impoverishment doom thing, I can't do it. I just wouldn't do it. So that's what's on my mind, man. Let me know what you guys think of this whole type of conversation situation on my YouTube channel. All right, I actually enjoyed making this, so what do you know? All right, until next time, I'm out.